Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another author interview here at the Cozy Book Nook. I'm Tony Garcia, and I am here with guest author Karla Huebner. And we are here to discuss, you got a new book coming out, a new mystery book you just came out with. How long ago did it come out?
Came out in April.
In April this year.
Yep.
And then you've actually had some, you've been writing for a while now.
Yep.
So we're going to discuss some of your earlier works, and we're also going to kind of discuss a little bit on your, your methodologies. You've done traditional, you've done independent, and now you work, with authors, that are up and coming. So we're going to hit all of that. She's got a lot of years of experience. I'm really excited. So let's jump right into it. Your newest book, we'll start with this right here, is The Corpse in the Trash Room. This is a mystery, and this is actually written under a pen name. Is it, I don't know how you pronounce that.
I pronounce it Colette Tajemna, but since it's a made-up name, you can pronounce it Tajemna or Tajemna, however you like.
So, when you feel free, when you shoot her video emails, that she answers to all the names. So let's start off, first of all, maybe how you came up with that name. How'd you...
Well, actually, the French author Colette was always one of my favorite writers, and then the word Tajemna or Tajemny is a word that means secret in Czech. And so I thought that could be a very cool name for a mystery writer. So that's kind of where that came from. But I, figured that, nobody is going to, in the United States, is likely to know how Czech is pronounced. So
right.
I'm fine with different pronunciations of the last name.
So, did the mystery book come first, or once you decided you're going to start writing mystery, you came up with the name and then wrote the book, or were you already working on the book and I need a good pen name?
I wrote the book first, and then I came up with the name for it. And it's actually a book that I wrote quite a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It's the first novel I ever finished.
Oh wow!
And this was quite a few years ago. I spent time, querying agents and so forth, and starting to write a second book in the series, and then I got distracted onto other things in life, as authors often do, and kind of put it aside and got involved in other projects, and then I kind of felt like, that was a first effort, and I'm probably never going to make a series of this, so I just kind of let it sit and all of that. And then many years later, I was kind of going through old files and so forth, and I thought, I should reread this. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since I've read it, and I reread it, and I thought, I still really like this.
Yeah.
And
but you're saying a lot if you're an author. Yeah. Especially because as time goes, a lot of times your writing style changes. Mm-hmm. You get better. Sometimes you go back and look over your old work. And a lot of times authors look at their own work a little bit with disdain anyway, just because, we're very critical of our own stuff. Mm-hmm. So if an author goes back and pulls out an old story and says, I still like this, that's a pretty good compliment.
It's a good sign. Yeah. No, and a lot of authors, they're very, very critical of their early work, and, often rightly so. But I was, very pleasantly surprised. Sure, there were some things that I, could see, I need to fix this, or I need to beef this up a little bit, or whatever, but there wasn't a whole lot. And at that point, I had already published other books, and I knew quite a bit about the publishing industry, both mm-hmm. traditional publishing, and knew a fair amount about indie publishing as well, because my brother had begun to do some indie publishing of his fiction.
And this is your first book that you've published independently.
It's the first indie published, yeah. And so I thought, it's a humorous mystery. And my brother writes humorous stuff, so I'll ask him if he's interested in adding to his catalog. And he said, this sounds like a good thing to add. Good thing to have another author. Mm-hmm. And so we put it together and brought it out in the spring.
So let's talk a little bit about this one then. So it's a mystery. Any particular, is it one protagonist, or is it built around a situation, or?
Well, it's got one narrator, mm-hmm. but it's amateur sleuth, but it is an entire group of amateur sleuths. So one of the amateur sleuths is the one that's telling us the story, and it's a group of college students who discover a body of someone that they don't like in their dorm in the middle of the night.
In the trash room?
Yes.
And I noticed that, like,
Yes.
there's pictures of three trash cans there, and normally you think the corpse in the trash can. So a lot of people probably, like, they're trying to talk about the book without looking at it, be like, oh, it's the corpse in the trash can, because they visualize, but
he's actually sitting on top of
oh my goodness,
one of the trash cans. Yeah.
Okay, not laughing moment, but I can definitely see what the humor in that is a little bit. A lot of us picture our own funerals and stuff, already thinking about like that. That's how you do it right there.
Yeah.
And so it kind of follows along this group. Or?
Yeah, as they since they've discovered the body, and they figure that, oh well, a lot of people didn't like this person, and they're not, perhaps wrongly, but they are not that worried that they're in terrible danger. I mean, occasionally it occurs to them, well, yeah, maybe we should be locking our doors and so forth, but and they're also not seeing a lot of movement from the police, and of course, you know, in real life, the police often take a while before they can find.
Not for the TV shows I've seen.
Exactly. Real life is a little different than
Yes.
TV shows and mystery novels, and so, you know, so my characters are kind of like, well, you know, we know this setting, we know these people, we're going to talk to people, we're curious, and so they embark on this investigation mostly together, although there are some divides among them as they do the investigating. Yeah, it was fun to write.
Yeah.
And people seem to be mostly enjoying it.
Good. Yeah.
And in fact, one of the people that we have here in the room has, I think you've read it, Barb. So we have one person that can vouch for it as a fun read. But yeah, it was really a pleasure to be able to finally bring this book out after I had, you know, brought out other books that I'd written more recently, and although some of them not as recently as one would like. You always think, oh, you'd like to publish things, you know, as soon as you finish them or whatever, and that usually isn't the way it works.
So I wonder if the story might have been different since you wrote this under like a pen name. If this had been the one that, you know, got picked up, if you would have stayed, the mystery would have been Karla, and then the other books, you know, then you're like, oh, now I got to think of a different name. But you had written this like first, but actually going back, you end up going into publishing your first book. So how long ago was that? When did you publish the?
My first book came out in 2020. And that was a scholarly book. I'm a retired art historian from Wright State, and so I have a scholarly art history and gender studies and Slavic studies book that came out in 2020,
and that's nonfiction.
That's nonfiction.
And that's written under Karla.
Yes.
Huebner. Okay.
Yes. And that's about a specific artist, someone who was a founding member of the Prague Surrealist group back in the 1930s, and so I mean that was a fun book to research and read, and won a prize as well. So that was the first book that I found a publisher for, of the various ones that I had finished writing. And
that one's still available, correct?
That is still available.
Okay,
yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I may want to take that myself.
Yeah.
I love art, and reading some nonfiction on some of the local artists. That's how I don't remember names a lot when I look at art, but if I read their biography or you buy a book on their particular style and about their history, I think that helps a lot to, you know, remember that. So knowing that there's an indie author that actually wrote, or you traditionally published, but that you wrote a book on the particular art, I'm very interested in checking that out myself. So
great, I will bring in copies.
Perfect.
I'm reading it right now, but I'm reading it very slowly because I know next to nothing about the art scene in Prague and those years. I know not, and so I'm having to read carefully to absorb it and look things up.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, Karla.
Well, and one of the things that I tried to be really careful about as I was writing it was that I wanted it, I mean, on the one hand, you have to be interested in the topic if you're reading it, but on the other hand, I wanted it to be accessible so that, since readers in the United States, and for that matter Great Britain or wherever in the English-speaking world might be buying it, would not mostly be familiar with Czech surrealism or Czech modernism more generally. I really wanted to set the scene and kind of give a sense of where is this artist coming from, who are their associates, what kind of avant-garde artistic and cultural movements are going on, what's the gender scene like, and so forth. So I really tried to set the scene in that so that the interested reader will learn a lot, as in addition to enjoying or hating, depending on your tastes or whatever.
Yeah.
The art.
Well, art is definitely subjective.
It is indeed.
In the eye of the beholder. So I mean, but I think if somebody reads the book, and even if they maybe not necessarily agree with the art or like it, the artist's stories could be just as interesting as the art he creates. So
yeah.
And it's like Rembrandt, it's like, oh, everybody remembers him, cutting off the ear,
Well, that was Van Gogh. Actually.
Oh, Van Gogh, you're right, it was Van Gogh, you're right.
They're both Dutch.
See? Should have read the book. That's what happens when you try just to pull off your top of your head. But so you kept the name Karla, but you moved into some of the other books, and this one here I've got here is called In Search of the Magic Theater. What's this one about?
That one is about women in the performing arts. And so that is the second book that I got accepted by a publisher, a small press called Regal House that's in North Carolina, and they focus on literary fiction and a certain amount of memoir, a little bit of nonfiction. They also have children's books in terms of middle grade and young adult. So they're definitely an up-and-coming, interesting publisher. And
would this one fall under nonfiction as well?
No,
or?
this one is a novel.
Okay.
It's got two narrators, one who's in her early 20s and an aspiring cellist, and she lives with her aunt who rents out rooms to people. And so her aunt has just rented out a room to a more middle-aged woman who has just left her husband. And that person turns out to be trying to get back into creative pursuits and had done work in experimental theater. And so it goes back and forth between those two women as narrators. And they're kind of parallel but often intersecting journeys as they're working through their creative lives, and that they're at very different stages in their creative development.
I think one thing I like about these interviews with authors, and you in particular, is that as you learn more about the author, you start to really kind of appreciate the design of the covers. As you can see on this one, I don't know if you can see it that far away, but you can see it's just very artistic. It's very creative, bright colors. It's almost as if it's almost like a statue. It's almost like as if it's its own painting. And a lot of times with authors, they're doing fancy. They pretty much cater the covers, especially if they're new, to the story. But I feel like in your sense, a lot of the artwork that kind of goes into it kind of caters to your personality, which I find it unique and kind of new. You don't see that a lot, especially a lot of newer artists, or even ones that have been around for a while that have a certain genre they stick in. Your book, it almost like if they were to pull your books off the shelves, could almost tell, yeah, this is authentic, Karla, because the cover is so,
That's
unique.
Interesting that you would say that, because I did not design this cover.
Yeah.
Now, generally speaking, with traditional publishing, the author does fill out a questionnaire about what they might like or not like on their cover. The publisher has the authority to go with that or to ignore it. In my case, I did say there was a particular painting from over 200 years ago that's mentioned in the story, and that I thought, this could be something that was part of the cover, but I also wanted something that was kind of psychedelic about the cover. And so what I was imagining was rather different than what the cover designer came up with, but nonetheless, the cover designer basically took the painting and made the painting, or part of the painting, very psychedelic. So she was definitely working with the idea that I gave her, just taking it in a very different direction than what I had envisioned in my mind's eye. So
wow, very interesting.
That was pretty
It's almost
cool.
like you found someone that was kind of just in click with you then. That just might have like, even though they didn't necessarily take your idea, it was in the kind of the same vein as far as loving art as much as you do. That's a beautiful, colorful. But I just love the pose. I could look at this cover as if it is a work of art, and just and just be like, oh, that's beautiful. It's not like beautiful in the sense of like it's designed, pleasing to sell the book, but that you look at it looks like it almost is like from an old painting or something that it's almost could be a book about an artist.
Yeah,
which is really beautiful like that.
Yeah, the designer for Regal House does some really nice covers, and she really does clearly think about what the character of the book is, and I mean, the covers don't look like one another, but they are definitely artistically designed covers.
So that makes it a good segue into the next thing I want to talk about. So you're both traditionally, with small press and independently. This was done through a traditional with a graphic artist. In this, you didn't have access to the artist probably to do this, or did she do this as well? Or
nope,
so
I
you
did that.
had this your own. So this is one that you created. Did you do, or did you kind of outsource that?
I did the basic design, and then my brother, who is to a large extent a graphic designer, kind of tweaked it a bit to make sure that everything was perfectly aligned and all of that. But I mean, I did the basic design, and then he got it ready for publication.
In itself, it has its own, for the color of the the eggshell white, to the trash cans, to the mouse. I mean, just the color of the reds, the blacks. I mean, it's two-tone. So that's very, in itself, I just think it's a very unique cover. I think one of the things I like about like indie authors too is that they have the ability to be unique with their covers, and some go to the standard what they think will sell. But I really like the fact that they're just so much different, that but yet at the same time they kind of feel like they're unique. What's been your experience, I guess, going with being traditionally published and now pursuing independent? What do you feel like some of the pros and cons of either or are? Which one do you like better?
I think each has its pros and its cons. The pros with publishing traditionally are that, at least if you have a halfway decent traditional publisher, and I mean there are some that are traditional but they're not as on top of things as others, but basically speaking, if you are working with a traditional publisher, you have additional eyes looking over your work, making, doing the copy editing, doing the proofreading, doing the interior layout, the design, doing at least a certain amount of marketing and publicity. Now, never as much as, or almost never as much as authors would like, but, doing things like sending a copy of your book to, for instance, Kirkus or Publishers Weekly, some of the major places that reviews appear, sending out, a certain amount of advertising, that kind of thing. Again, that depends on the size of the publisher and their budget and so forth, and whether your book is kind of a lead title for the season or if it's just kind of somewhere down in the mix. But those are some of the advantages. On the other hand, in terms of the cons for traditional publishing, your book does not come out very quickly. I would say usually you're going to be spending maybe at least 18 months, or in the case of Regal House with their books, they do a calendar of basically that after you sign the contract, the book will come out 2 years after that. That does give them a lot of time to really work out any of the bugs and really try to get the marketing in place, all of that kind of thing. On the other hand, you can feel like, okay, when is it coming out? I mean, I wanted mine to come out in time for my mother still to be able to read it, because she's elderly and I wasn't sure how long she would be able to read. And it didn't come out in time for her to read it herself, although she is still alive, and I think my brother has read it to her. But so, so there's the time thing. You also don't have some of the control that a person might want over things like the cover. Now, often a traditional publisher will know more than the author does about what is a suitable cover that will sell, especially for genre publishing. There are things that a traditional publisher may know know more about how to do than most authors. But on the other hand, you lose a certain amount of control. You also do not make very much money. Even if your book is selling reasonably well. I'm not talking about, bestsellers, that's a whole other matter. But for most authors, you are hoping that not only that bookstores and libraries order your book, but you're also hoping that people learn about it and actually go to the bookstore and buy your book, because bookstores buy books on consignment as a general rule, which means that if the books don't sell in a few months, they get shipped back. And then, your publisher basically gets billed for the shipping of this book coming back. And you and your publisher kind of are in the hole. So those are some cons to traditional publishing. Now, with indie publishing, the pros are certainly that you have a lot of control over what you are doing. You can bring out the book as soon as you feel it is ready. Now, a lot of people bring out the book before it's really ready. But on the other hand, if you are savvy and kind of have a sense of what knowing what you're doing, you can be hiring a copy editor and a proofreader, or you may have a friend or a relative that is good at those things, that will reliably do that in exchange for, maybe some nice dinners or something like that. Or maybe you have a spouse that's good at that kind of thing. But you do want professional input. Likewise, it is possible to design your own cover. Again, that kind of depends on your skill set. While I did design the cover for the mystery, I am not a professional cover designer. I am someone that has done a lot of artwork. I am an art historian. I'm also familiar with one of the nice things about mystery as a genre is that unlike some genres, there's a lot of different types of mystery covers. And so for a humorous mystery, while this doesn't automatically just announce that it's a mystery, the fact that the title is clearly for a mystery, and then the rest of the design kind of indicates, and it's probably funny.
Get kind of a Pink Panther
kind
of feel from it.
that it's kind of lighthearted even though there's death in it. There are a lot of different kinds of covers that I would never attempt to do because I don't have the illustration skill for it. But this kind of a collage cover is something that's, within my ability to do. So that's something to be keeping in mind. You also want to be thinking in terms of, what kind of size do you want the book to be, because there are standard sizes for books. Which size is going to seem right for it? What kind of paper do you want to use? Which companies are you going, there's a whole raft of things to learn about indie publishing. There I would recommend the group Ally, Alliance of Independent Authors, which is an international organization for indie authors. They have a lot of advice and, podcasts and different information. There are also websites like Readsy that are helpful for indie authors. Also, I'm a member of the Authors Guild, which has both traditionally published authors and indie authors, and we have an online forum for members where members can ask each other questions, like, has anybody heard of this publisher, or has anybody had trouble with, their accounting from Kindle, or whatever. So, you want to learn about the resources that you have available to you. Also with indie publishing, and this is kind of, for some authors it's a pro and for some it's a con, you really need to do your marketing. And that's something that, for a lot of authors really do not enjoy that. Some authors are very good at it. Some of us enjoy parts of it, and don't enjoy having to do it all the time. But even if you're traditionally published, these days you have to do a lot of your own marketing. Mm-hmm. So those are some things to think about. There are reasons to go with either one. With traditional publishing, you have more chance at certain kinds of awards, because some of the major awards just are not given to indie published books. On the other hand, there are reasonably well-regarded awards that are given to indie published books. So getting to know other authors, whether in person or online, in groups like Authors Guild and Ally, and other places where you can meet up with other authors that are at a similar level of expertise and better, more advanced expertise. That is really key to learning how to do things. There's a lot of information out there, and so anybody, whether you want to be traditionally published or indie published, it behooves you to learn as much as you can about the whole business, because either way you need to know a lot, not just be able to write a good book, which of course is the foundation of it.
Mm-hmm. Now that would I was looking for early on like a good segue into the next section, but honestly, you probably already noticed already. You do work with up and coming indie authors, right? To support resources. I'm not like an employee. Oh. I'm just someone who's an author who is a member who actively participates in the forum on the Authors Guild. There are some people, like with any forum, there are some people that just pop on when they have a question, mm-hmm. and then there are other people that actually make a point of answering questions for less experienced people. And you're part of the latter, I would imagine.
I'm kind of in there as one of those people. Not that I don't have my own questions, mm-hmm. that other people, try to answer for me, but, we try to help one another, and, that's a good thing to be part of. You try to give back, and, you hear those things about being a good literary citizen, and mm-hmm. that's one of the ways that I try to be a good literary citizen.
One thing I thought one of the previous interviews that I kind of mentioned too, because we were talking about independent and traditionally published as well too, is that with like when you're traditionally published, you have a team behind you, mm-hmm. but when you're independent, you have a community.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing I found, like just with all the interviews and being part of it myself, is that you do have all those communities that are just willing to help you.
Yeah.
It's like if you have questions, if you're looking for ways to get published, they're there as a team. Whereas as a traditional, you have a team that will go in there and actually do the editing, do the mm-hmm. book covers, and or as a publisher, tell you what's going to sell, what's not going to sell, and curate the book to be a seller.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it's I definitely have seen the pros and cons to both. I think it kind of depends on like the individual's personality. If they want to, to them it's about, I want to write the story, I want to get out there, and I want to make a living off of it. And I'd rather go traditional to where they take care of the book and the editing and all that. And then you have someone's like the artist who are like, no, I don't want to like change anything in my book. I don't care if everybody ever reads it, ever. It's like I want it to be the way I wrote it, and the way I designed it. So you kind of have to kind of decide for yourself, which path is best for you. But Karla, I thank you so much for coming out. It was really a pleasure meeting you. And she's going to be here signing her books for a few more minutes, but we're going to have her books on the shelves, and we're going to have you know, she's got, these are not just the only 2 books that she has here. We're going to have others on the shelf, so definitely check out the store and check out the different books that are online. But also, you know, we're going to have her links in the description below. Go out and check out, you know, some of her other works as well. I think it's just a unique variety of subjects, a unique variety of stories that you tell. And I personally love that. You know, a lot of times authors try to tell you, like, stick in your lane if you want to just do mystery or just do horror or just do romance. But it sounds like you've really, you know, you've got a lot of different areas that you've written in, and successfully as well too. It sounds like, you know, it's just and it's a, you know, the big leap to change your name. It's like to a pen name. You know, it's a big risk.
It's a risk.
Yeah, because you have that fan base, or the people who like will search for you know, for Karla, but then you know, all of a sudden you're Colette, and you know. But I feel like, you know, even with like Stephen King and Richard Block, is like sometimes it's necessary evil because you want the stories you want to tell, but you also don't want to kind of intermix them together so people don't get confused on what you're.
Especially with the way that the Amazon algorithms work these days, to kind of target people into a particular genre. So that's really what comes down to why I do the 2 names. Yeah,
and that's something to consider too. So some of you maybe just about like having separate names for writing 2 different genres, but in the technological world, you do have to consider that algorithms are now also paying attention to associating names with brains as well too. So that's something to keep in mind if you're just now starting the writing. You have a bunch of different stories and a bunch of different genres. Definitely consider the more you stick with one name, multiple genres, confuse the algorithm, because now you have the algorithm that, you know, that pretty much determines if people even see your stuff nowadays. But so keep that in mind too. Karla, thank you. Just a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. I know we've been talking for months trying to get you in here, and it's so good. I know you had surgery, so good to see you back on your feet, able to come visit us, get your books on the shelves. We're also going to have, you know, her books whenever we go out to these vendor events. So, you know, if you're not able to make it at the bookstore, also we ship. So make sure you take a look online. Of course, we're going to have our links below where you can check out our websites and see where you can find our copies. Ours are signed. So, you know, that's one thing I always say. I was like, Amazon, you'll get our book. Sure, free shipping, but, you know, you get it from us, you get them signed. So
support your local independent bookstores.
Yes, and that's one thing that's a symbiotic relationship between bookstores and authors that we've just come to appreciate too. So thank you so much for coming back out. Thank you all for joining us in this event, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and we'll do the best to answer those questions. And we'll see you in the next episode, guys. You guys have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.